As we dug into USAID, it became apparent that what we have here is not an apple with a worm in it, but we have actually just a bowl of worms. Mm-hmm. There is no apple. You've just got to basically get rid of the whole thing. It's beyond repair. So really, none of this could be done without the full support of the president. I went over it with him, in detail, and he agreed with that we should shut it down. I actually checked with him a few times. Said, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yes." So we're shutting it down.
This is a corrupt abuse of power that is going on.
This illegal, unconstitutional interference with congressional power is threatening lives all over the world.
This is a constitutional crisis that we are in today. Let's call it what it is.
We talked about Trump wanting to be a dictator on day one, and here we are. This is what the beginning of dictatorship looks like.
Elon Musk responded on X saying the corrupt politicians protesting outside the USAID building are the ones getting money from USAID. That's why they're there. They want your stolen tax dollars.
Look, I mean, my frustration with USAID goes back to my time in Congress. It's a completely unresponsive agency. It's supposed to respond to policy directives of the State Department, and it refuses to do so. So the functions of USAID, there are a lot of functions of USAID that are going to continue, that are going to be part of American foreign policy, but it has to be aligned with American foreign policy. I said very clearly during my confirmation hearing that every dollar we spend and every program we fund, that will be aligned with the national interest of the United States. And USAID has a history of sort of ignoring that and deciding that there's somehow a global charity separate from the national interest. These are taxpayer dollars. And so I'm very troubled by these reports that they've been unwilling to cooperate with people who are asking simple questions about what does this program do, who gets the money, who are our contractors, who's funded. Okay, we would ask them questions. Who does this program fund? Who gets the money? We won't tell you. We don't need to tell you. We're apolitical. Well, American foreign policy isn't apolitical. American foreign policy is to further the interest of the United States. If someone wants to spend apolitical dollars, they should spend private dollars, go start a charity, and you can fund anyone you want. But if you're going to spend taxpayer money, then you need to spend it in furtherance of the national interest of the United States. That's exactly what I said at my confirmation hearing. And this is not my frustration. This frustration has existed now for almost a quarter century in multiple administrations that have gone through this challenge. It's going to stop and it's going to end.
First of all, Elon Musk is a once-in-a-generation business leader. He is an entrepreneur. He serves as a great ally and a friend to the president. And I think Elon Musk also has a little bit of common sense. And I think the American people really appreciate that when it comes to the federal government, because it seems like all common sense has been lost in this city. And that's what you see when you look at USAID. I know Secretary Rubio made some comments about how he will be acting as the director over that agency. And here's the reason why Elon Musk and others have been taking a look. Because if you look at the waste and abuse that has run through USAID over the past several years, these are some of the insane priorities that organization has been spending money on. $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbia's workplaces, $70,000 for a production of a DEI musical in Ireland, $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. I don't know about you, but as an American taxpayer, I don't want my dollars going towards this crap, and I know the American people don't either, and that's exactly what Elon Musk has been tasked by President Trump to do, to get the fraud, waste, and abuse out of our federal government. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, look, this is the best 3 examples I've seen for the problems at USAID. I just want to highlight it. Emma Colton, FoxNews.com. Everyone read this. Number 1, Tom Cotton sends a letter October of 2023 to Samantha Power, who's administering USAID, and says, I have credible evidence that Hamas terrorists have received U.S. aid. Now, USAID denies that. Tom Cotton, however, not known for throwing random things to the wind. Number 2, Syrian National gets $9 million to Al Nusra Front. Newsflash, Al Nusra Front is a terrorist organization. Number 3, money gets to the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Let's put a cherry on top. A Soros group is who Samantha Powers chooses to meet with several times during the administration. Those are the problems. And just to address the point, because there's this viral story about AIDS and PEPFAR and that not getting to children. Everyone wants to see African children helped. Everyone wants to see PEPFAR continue. Secretary Rubio addressed this just now in a press conference flagged for me by the State Department. Quote, "We have issued a blanket waiver. If the program saves lives, they have a waiver." Straight from the Secretary of State.
Well, listen, you know, not only is it waste, but a lot of times, a lot of this stuff aggravates our allies and partners. It's ideologically controversial, so it's pushing things like abortion on conservative countries or the LGBTQ issue or climate ideology, and it aggravates our partners and allies. Of course, it aggravates a lot of Americans as well, and sometimes violates the consciences of Americans. Don't even want our taxpayer dollars to go to these things. But I think the larger point is USAID was never meant to be purely charity, purely altruism. It's supposed to align with American foreign policy objectives and make sure that we have countries that are siding with the United States against our adversaries. Last point, recently went to a trip to India. India, conservative country. We want to partner with India to counter China. The Indian officials I talked to said they were irritated by the progressive policies that the Biden administration foisted on them. It hurt our relationship with India.
Yeah, I wonder how Serbia's workforces would feel about all that DEI. I'm sure they don't turn down the money, $1.5 million. But to your point, I mean, that's not in alignment maybe with some countries. I don't know about Serbia.
Well, Stuart, the thing that is the problem with USAID, and this has been true for decades now, is that they don't like the United States part of USAID. This is a point that Marco Rubio made eloquently just yesterday. And this is something that has always been a very frustrating aspect of the way that they behave. They throw money in all these different directions overseas toward projects that would never get approved if they actually had to go through a traditional congressional review process. And the idea that we are in a constitutional crisis over something like this is absolutely laughable. USAID was created, obviously, by an executive order by President Kennedy back in the day. This is something that, you know, should absolutely be folded into and part of the tools used underneath the Department of State. And that's why I think that what is happening right now is a healthy dynamic, saying these are things that should not be just, you know, the ways for bureaucrats to spend money willy-nilly in accordance with woke or DEI political agendas. It should be something that is actually, you know, decided and determined by people who've been approved by the Congress to lead the cabinet of the executive branch. And that's something that I hope we get to eventually.
If you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date with future videos. Thank you for watching.